When I was young, I was the kid in the family that always did well in school. A bit of an overachiever. I had plenty of friends, I wasn't ugly, so you know, pretty much the perfect child. My parents had pretty high expectations for me that I'd actually become something. Now, 20 years later, I make YouTube videos about video games to literally tens of views. So please, when I say that Dragon Ball Z Buus Fury is an incredible disappointment, understand that I'm talking as an expert. Dragon Ball Z Buus Fury is garbage. What the hell happened? Coming hot off the heels of Legacy of Goku 2, this third title in the Legacy of Goku trilogy should have been great. All I wanted was a game that was as good as Legacy of Goku 2. Instead what I got was, well, Buus Fury. You might not understand why that's an insult now, but trust me, you will. The game begins with us on Snake Way after the G-Man blew up King Kai's planet like a cock. Goku is super excited for the Otherworld tournament that's about to take place, and honestly, so am I. From what I remember, the Otherworld tournament was a lot of fun, and starting off the game with a tournament is a great idea. Newcomers can learn the basics of combat through this. You could fight an enemy that can only be damaged by beam attacks, or an enemy that you have to shield against. That'd be awesome. It's a damn shame that the game doesn't do that then, isn't it? Instead, we're dumped in a forest with Hercules over here. We fight Hercules and there's a level gate. The game starts with a level gate, which means we have to grind to get to level 65. We start off at level 60. This paints a dark picture for things to come. We're then introduced to Pikkon, a super cool dude who is clearly a Piccolo ripoff. The characters in the game talk a lot about how supposedly powerful Pikkon is, but it's never shown to us. In the show, he takes down Frieza and Cell without breaking a sweat, but in the game, he's just there. The tournament then begins in a cutscene. Yep, we just see a montage of interesting enemies being beaten instead of fighting them ourselves. After an incredibly underwhelming tournament, we cut forward to Gohan living life as a teenager, attending Orange Star City High School. You know the most boring part of the series? Well, guess what? We get to play it! Fighting crime as the great Saiyan man has never seemed so dull. The problem is there's far too much dialogue. I completely understand that it's trying to match the show, but the difference is the show is visually interesting, and we can actually hear the dialogue. It's not just a static overhead with boxes of text. I think the game could have adapted a more visual novel approach in regards to cutscenes, with varied character portraits. It'd keep it more visually dynamic and more enjoyable to watch. Gohan gets informed that Goku is coming back to compete in the tournament, so we head off to train with Goten and another level gate, meaning we have to grind again. We finally get to the tournament and unlock Trunks as a playable character, so we can fight in the junior division of the tournament. As Trunks, we fight 10 random children in a row in very boring and very pointless fights. So we couldn't fight the interesting characters in the Otherworld tournament, but we get to fight 10 useless kids in a row. I feel like something is a little bit off here. We leave to fight Majin Buu and we're level gated again. Again! Goku needs to be level 70 to get through the door. The last time we played as him, we needed to be 65. Why would anyone level higher than they need to be to progress? No one would go, just 5 more levels. So Goku won't be a high enough level, requiring more grinding. But the problem is, there aren't any enemies around. Instead, we have to go to the world map to find a previous location and grind up there. However, for some absolutely idiotic reason, the world map doesn't show previously visited locations. So we're stuck flying around the map looking aimlessly for a location to fight enemies at. Sure, there are rogue submarines and airships, but they have 4 enemies or so at best and do not provide enough of a challenge to level up. And the thing is, after finally leveling up enough to get Goku through the door, we enter a grinding area. Why was that door there at all? Why not just have the door after the grinding area? It doesn't make sense. However, if we were able to fight the enemies in the Otherworld tournament, it could have naturally leveled us up to level 70. But no, Buus Fury doesn't think like that. So after grinding all of the characters available to us, we progress onwards only to be blocked by another door. Are you actually kidding right now? Like why? Why? This door would be understandable if the other 3 doors didn't exist. But they do! It's showing that there isn't enough content in the game and they have to level gate us because it is straight up halting progression. So we finally get into the ship and have to do a boring puzzle. After that we fight Pui Pui as Vegeta and we one-hit punched him so quickly that I genuinely thought the game glitched. Then we do the same boring puzzle before we get to fight Yakon, which is actually a genuinely interesting fight. Using energy attacks gives him power, so we have to resort to melee attacks. Hey, that's a neat thing they did in the show that translated to a neat gameplay mechanic. And then we do the same puzzle again, 3 times. 3 times, it's so boring. Now, I'm not going to talk about the game beat by beat because we'll be here forever. There are some key points though. I'm not done bitching. When Vegeta does his heroic sacrifice, it's pretty good considering the style they went with. As we all know, it's all for naught because Buu reforms. Look how it's done in the game! He literally just appears. Holy shit, I could do better than that. I'm not going to because it's not my job, but I totally could do better than that. Later on, we get game filler. Yep, staying true to the anime. Staying true to the anime, there is game filler for Goten and Trunks as they hunt for Dragon Balls. We get to one area, land, and find out that there's a level gate, and it can only be accessed by Goten. I was playing as Trunks. There was not a save pad available, so I could not switch to Goten. Meaning I had to go back to the world map to find a save point so I could swap. But the world map has no indicators of where to go. This wouldn't be so frustrating if it wasn't in the last game. But it was. How can you take steps back like this? Broly's in the game. He looks like garbage. It feels like they were trying to do too much for this game. Like they overreached and then tripped and fell into a spider web. They added some loose RPG elements to the game, like different gear having status effects on the characters. But all I ended up using were the heavy boots and gloves because they made me level up faster. Honestly, the game would have been better off without them. The thing is, looking back on it, this game makes Legacy of Goku 2 Cell Salt worse because it has a lot of the bad elements that are present in Buus Fury. Buus Fury is just hindered by the fact that it's based on the worst saga of the show, really. So how would I improve this game? Don't make it.